good. We did a little exercise first. Coming out of the kennel, you can't really, it's hard to get that level of authenticity when it comes to a dog's state of excitement if you're not using that nice relief. Ooh, here we go. I'll explain to you guys what I'm doing here in a second. Come on, okay. We started in that room and we are out to this room. Basically, he's in the kennel, everything's good, he's good in the kennel. I say break, boom, he's out of the kennel, he's out of that room, he's in here, he's up on Julie, then he's back and he's with me and he's brushing up on me, and then he's over here and he's going crazy, right? So that's all wrong, right? We want to teach him that when you come out, calm is the default, excitement is reserved for permission, right? So always calm, but you can go and use that high levels of energy when your owner says, go crazy. But the way I'm able to do that, to get that part of him, is I'm using break. He's already on the word break before he came here, so if I say break, it sends him into crazy mode because that's what he associates it with when he gets, that's when he's allowed out of the structure into the freedom. But what I'm teaching him is break to come out of the kennel doesn't mean all the rules are gone. This break when you're coming out of, in the context of coming out of the kennel into the house doesn't mean high energy, it still means calm. Break from a sit to a chase and a ball, or playing with a dog, or going on a hike, you can elevate her. So he's learning as a puppy. When we release him, if he just goes crazy all over the place, there's going to be natural consequences. He goes up on Julie. Julie says no, she doesn't want it. I give a little correction. He comes up on me, trying to elicit something out of me. I say no, I don't want it. He tries to leave the room. I say no, I don't want it. Eventually, what he does is he comes out and he steadies himself and he connects with us and say, okay, I'm ready to take direction. That's what we want. We want that state of mind of when I'm getting him out of the kennel, he's saying, okay, what are we doing? He's not going through all of his minds, all the options of all the fun things we possibly could be doing, which is very typical for puppies, but very typical also for shepherds. You know, they're one of those breeds that are a little bit more, they're always thinking ahead, right? They're thinking about the next thing. So he's starting to whine, he might start to whine when we're at the threshold of the kennel because he's anticipating the walk or whatever, you know. So what we're saying is a couple cool core rules for him. We don't want to hear you. So if you have an opinion, we don't want to hear it. That's a no-no for me, right? So I don't want to hear whines. And I don't want to hear barks. That's a rule. It's an underlying rule underneath it all. Another one is you shouldn't be leaving rooms without permission. So if we're in this room and you're free in this room, you shouldn't just pick up and go to another room without a human. That's a rule. Another rule is carrying a default energy that's calm. So you can't just pick yourself up and be like, I feel like being excited, and just run around the room when you feel like it. The rule for the dogs is calm, unless otherwise. So these are some really under the surface rules that we have with our relationship to our dogs and also their relationship to our house, right? And our land and when we go on our walks. And it'll be generalized eventually to this is how I get around the world. He'll have pockets of his day that he's going to be expressing himself appropriately and getting his energy out and socializing with other dogs, playing, whatever he does at home, walks, hikes, they play ball. That's all going to still be happening, but the in-between time, he's going to be relaxed, okay? So that's the first thing I'm working on because it's a dog who's already trained somewhat. He's keen on the collar. He knows the basic commands. I think he's here because his state of mind stuff, I think, can always be improved. His relationship to people could be improved. His relationship to his role in his pack could be improved. Also, probably the commands could probably be tightened up, we'll see. And so we're gonna work hard on our guy here. What's his name one last time?
Aries.
Aries, I love that name. It's a very beautiful name. So Aries, how old is he, 1.5? 2? Okay.
Mylan said he's immature in every way.
Mylan's not wrong. But they're all usually a little immature because they lack, imagine if they grew up in the wild. Like, okay, I know, we gotta use our imagination. But by the time they're 2, they go through so much adversity that they've hardened a little bit. And I think the lack of that keeps them in puppy mode a little bit longer. So he's a little puppyish for 2. He probably will be for 3. But with this style of living, with this style of training, this style of living with him, he's gonna kind of bump into consequences. We're not, for example, the way that we're doing this is, this is how I train them up. And this is also how I get a dog who's slipping to be tightened back up. But there is a point where we just live with a dog and we can just kind of tell them what to do, tell them no. We're not necessarily doing this. This is reserved for training, and this is also reserved for dogs being pushy, so we want to set them up. We'll have them in this room, and I'll just kind of open a door. I'm not going, and the dog will go out the door, get corrected for going out, because that's one of the rules. You can't just leave one room to another without permission. Gets corrected, recalled, blah, blah, blah. Why is that important? Because nobody said anything to the dog. If I were to say, okay, dog, we're going to go out the door, sit and stay, and then I open the door, and then I wait for him to say break and let him out, that's using the training, and that's good. But if the dog has an attitude and is fidgety and can't wait to go out the door, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say, okay, we're going to do setups, which means I'm going to open the door and show him that going out without permission equals consequence, which gets the dog to not think about going out the door as much, and it takes the stress down. Okay, I went out the door already. It was a correction, so I don't really want to do that again. So now the option's getting taken off the table, so now I'm relaxing. The trick is whenever we see our dog perseverating about something, especially during training or post-training, perseverating about going out the door, doing this, or whining because they want to get off place, whatever it is, we're going to set them up so that they make the mistake, so that they get the taste of what, they get the aversive for the behavior, so therefore it's not a pleasant experience anymore, right? So that's what we do that's different. I know it's a mouthful, but it makes a huge difference. If I were to just be using the training for Aries, he would still be a mess upstairs. I would tell him to sit, and he would, but he would be whining. Or you know what I mean? I'd tell him to heel, and he would, but he'd be fidgety. Or I'd tell him to go in place, and he would, right? But, state of mind. So allowing a dog to make a mistake that's on their mind by kind of setting it up, pushing it out of them, gets it off their mind, and it gets the dog to relax. Okay? So, and soon we won't have a dog who's worrying about everything all the time. He's doing really good. He's in his command. So this is how we're doing it. We're letting him out, and he's making these mistakes, and he's getting corrected. But as he goes on, he's making less and less mistakes. So he's hanging out. If he makes a mistake, and I want to, like whining, he has a very bad whining problem. Then I'm going to correct him, but not only physically I'm here, socially, by sending him back away to his kennel. Because he doesn't want to be in there, he wants to be out of the action. So letting him know, whine, correct, send away. Once he calms down, let him back out, try again. He's gonna get it, he's gonna make it so he's staying out here longer and longer with us by avoiding the things that gets him corrected and put away. The reason why I'm using the social discipline is because it works. Physical's great, but physical and social together is the sweet. So, like, if he does something wrong, we say, no, we didn't like that, and socially, by the way, get away for a little while. That's the most powerful. Now that we see, now that we go back to him with his calm and say, do you want to come out and try again? Come out and try again, treat him like normal. Because that's going to give you the ultimate effect. That's going to give you that, what people say, call follow through. A lot of that is socially following through to show your disapproval. And that they look around, they see the other humans, and they see that they're all on board. That kind of thing can seal the deal, right? But we're using it, so what I was saying is if he does something silly out here and he gets corrected but then remedies it, he stays out here. We just get that physical and just, hey, knock that off, whatever it is. But if he continues, get like upstairs and his head's kind of getting like a mess, starts squeaking, starts whining, complaining, then I can correct him and send him back away. And this is just an exercise for me to teach him how I want him to feel in our pack. Meaning, it's not his place to speak up and give his opinion, especially when nobody's doing something with him, right? So I'm letting him know that if he hears his own voice, I hear it too, and I don't like it. So it's teaching him to hear his own whine and say, whoops, that was an accident. And that's what we're gonna get. We're gonna get a dog who doesn't allow himself to make noise. He's gonna self-regulate that. And I need that. I need that. Not only as a trainer is it important because it's an attitude adjustment. If a dog can just be like, I'm bored, I want to do this, I want that, without correction, that means we're allowing the dog to kind of fill the room with a bad energy and without punishment or consequence, which isn't natural in a dog pack. A lot of those dogs like him, he'll get corrected by the other dogs because he's going into an unstable place. And dogs are going to correct unstable energy. So when he gets unstable, he would actually be getting corrected if he was in just a group of dogs, a pack of dogs. But because we're humans, we let it go, and it sends the wrong message to the dog. It sends the dog the message that they are higher up in status and that they should be making their own decisions, and that their position allows them to be reactive, and it allows them to have a say because they're equal to you, you know, or above you, or at the worst, you know. So these are the hierarchical messages we're sending. If you can't be quiet, then go. And that's what you do with a kid too. I mean, that's what I do when it works. Does it not work? The social.
It works.
Even with our little boy, the social is important to say, hey man, you're making this room kind of a drag right now. So go on into your bedroom until you can come out and behave better. And that's just, it works really well, the social aspect. Now, it's not the funnest thing to do with our dogs to say, now you're not involved right now, but it is effective, okay? Now, I'm not saying this is the end result, okay? This is what, the end result is he's involved in our life and he's not making these mistakes. He whines, we correct, he's quiet. This is the end result. But if a dog starts to slip and you correct, but they start whining more and start kind of pushing back on the system, it doesn't only have to be a whine, it can be a pushy heel or something. You start to see the dog being a little pushy, then we just tighten up by spending our days putting our dogs through little exercises like this and then putting them back. That's what they're doing for the day. They're not coming out and just living life normally. We're now kind of, if you want to think of it like groundation, for like when I was a kid, I'd get grounded if I was acting up too much for a length of time to straighten up my behavior, and then I'd get off from groundation. That's kind of what we're doing. If we see a dog slipping, and the reason I'm saying this is because, you know, this is a dog who lives in two houses with another dog and they're both challenging. There's a chance that if it might slip from time, it will slip from time to time and you'll have to tighten up. When you see it slipping, you look at the other adult in the house, you'd have a conversation, hey, I think we should tighten up around here for a little while, the dogs are slipping, okay? Now we're treating them a little differently for the next week or two until they straighten up. We're doing this kind of stuff where we're setting them up to make all the mistakes that we see them making until they're no longer making them, and then we bring them back into our life, okay? But that's what the beauty of the kennel is. The dog can go in the kennel in between these experiences. They don't have to be, they're not entitled to be free all the time if they act up, if they abuse their freedom, meaning they're not listening properly. They shouldn't be out because then they're practicing the bad behaviors over and over and over again, which patterns them, which becomes very problematic. If they're in the kennel, yeah, it's boring, but you're avoiding them patterning and doing the behaviors over and over again. When they do come out, you're monitoring them. So if they do a bad behavior, you can say, hey, don't do that. And they'll remember that for the next time they're out, okay? Make sure the dog feels like it's a privilege to be out with the humans, not an entitled, inherent privilege, okay? Let's let them back up. There. Great. It's getting better and better, everyone. Good boy. That was good. He jumped on you the first time, but he didn't do it that time. That's good. And this is acceptable. You know, I'm not gonna give him unrealistic expectations right now. The key is that we're not doing anything and he wants to do something fun, so he'll whine because he's trying to elicit it, and he's gonna learn the whining is what's getting him in trouble. I need to get onto that because that's the gateway of cleaning up this whole. Now that's a kind of a warning correction. I gave him a little mild one, but I said, hey, I don't like what we just did right there. I didn't send him away. But if he goes again, then I'll correct and send him away. And I'm just gonna keep doing this until next thing I know, he's hanging out with me for a while. I'm like, oh, he's not whining. They're most likely to whine right in the beginning though. You release them, come out to a room, there's, you know, nothing going on in the room, and then the dog starts to whine. Boom, that's where you deal with it. So we can trigger what the behavior that I want to get rid of, which is the impatient whining, the demand whining, the I want to do that, complaining about their circumstances. I would like to do doing something else. That's what they're saying. And what I'm saying is, I don't want to hear your voice. And we tell all of our dogs that, and it works because if they're able to speak up, then that means that they think that they are able to make choices on how to behave, on how to deal with situations. Okay? So this is better. Picking his head up, looking around, reading the room, probably looking for his options. See how we just open it up, and then if he's gonna go out, I'm gonna let him go out. Correct him for going out, and then recall him in. All right, so. Good. There's options for him now, so this can create whining, because now that's an option. Nobody told him to lay down, right? A little pushy. I just told him I didn't like that with a mild correction. Okay, break. But I release him again immediately because he might come back, because that break's getting that energy. He can have that energy if he's released at the right time. Release out the door to go running down a hiking trail, or release to play ball. But he'll learn, they're smart animals. that right now, just me saying break right now out of a down with nothing going on, you should probably just kind of just get up and say hi casually. And when you do that, I'm going to say, I like that one. Remember that, shepherd, okay? Because the shepherd brain needs to learn that there's this calm place that I know you know how to go to, and I would like it if you were in that space around me, unless I offered you to be crazy, okay? Good boy. He's a good boy. He's got a good temperament. His temperament is more happy-go-lucky than a lot of shepherds. Like, as far as stranger danger goes, if he sees a stranger, I've been told, this is what I've been told, I haven't seen it yet, that he sees them more as like an opportunity to befriend them, like a lab would, like, oh, another human, that's a friend, rather than guilty until proven innocent, which means he's going to see them as a potential threat, which a lot of shepherds will see strangers as. But he sees them naturally kind of as all humans are fun, which isn't terrible, but it does have issues if the dog feels like it's appropriate to just go up to strangers and act as if they're best age-old friends. Another rule of thumb is that you should never go up on strangers, whether they're humans or dogs, ever, because it's never appropriate. It's never something I want. I never want you to leave me and go up to a guy that I don't know and you don't know, ever. So they learn that here too. Or a dog that we don't know. Unless you've had permission to go up on it, don't. And that's just the easiest and safest way to live with a dog. Good. I'm liking this. And this is harder than it looks. He sees that door. And I'm just going after him being in a state of mind where he's not being vocal about his opinions. That's it. This is all I want, what he's doing right now. That's why you see me coming over and saying, hey, bud, you're doing awesome. This skill and the knowledge to know that this is what your humans want. And let's see how long it takes him to redirect his energy. Good. Good. Not terrible, but for a dog who went through training, that's a long time to look at that thing. Because, our training's a little different. We're doing more, we add in relationship dynamics so they learn how to feel about us and the world. So that's just the world. That's just an environmental event. That's just something that happened in the world. He will learn that he needs to go through me to get the things, to get the permission to go to them. So there'll be a lot more of a quicker hearing that thing and right back to me to see what his role is. I need more of that. I can see it right now that he's a little, he sees something, he perseverates on it, but he's not going at it, so somebody did something right. But his swinging, good. That gets it's a little long for me. I would like him to see something he wants and then catch himself and then look at me, which is what we'll end up getting. Good. Break.
Yeah.
He's hesitant to go up on it, which is cool, because he's not sure if it's a resource. Because if it's possible, if he sees it as a resource, I might see it as a resource, which means I get first access because of the conversations we've had. This is respect by not going up on it. Now, if I offer him it, he can go crazy, right? But because I haven't offered that to him, he's holding back. And that's what created the whine. Now he caught. You see, he was expecting that correction. He said, "Oh, that's the sound that gets me corrected." Now he can stay here. Good boy. That was a mild correction. Good boy. Good. That's all I care about, is that he's getting the message of like, he whined because he wants that, okay? I did this on purpose, obviously, so now there's something he wants. He did so good being respectful, but right before he let it go, he said, my opinion, right? I wish I could have that. He vocalized his emotions, and I'm not saying don't have those emotions, I'm saying don't tell me them. Don't vocalize them, okay? Good. Good. But look, he knows what I'm saying, and that's half the battle, is that he understands I'm talking about the whine. That is half the battle. I'm talking about the whine. That's why I've spent my session with him so far, building up to this moment, giving him those little breadcrumbs so that when the time comes, he understands, oh, this is because I'm whining. So I can be very clear, yes, that whine I don't like. And he's starting to get it, and now he's offering alternatives, which I'm going to say, I like that alternative. So he'll be doing this more on his own. But that was just, he got corrected, and he adjusted it, and he remedied it, and he did a great job. And I really think that the reason it's working so well is because I'll correct him and send him away. It's clearer. Not only is it another consequence because you get the social aspect of it, but it is clearer too, because you get a correction and immediately you're sent out and you have to go think on it. And there's no other stimulation. And then you come back out and try again, and the same thing gets you in trouble 2 or 3 times. The dog starts to pick up on it. I see when he whines, he said, whoops, right? And I said, yes, you're getting it. Good boy. But he's also going to feel confident and happy once you realize, oh, you just don't want me to whine? That's no problem. That's another one that we do, is we pat and give heavy affection. You usually do heavier than this. And then just stop. And then see if it produces a squeak. You know? And I know this can be kind of boring work. It's not as flashy. But these types of situations are what so I can be very clear to my friend that it's the whine that I'm correcting. And I think I'm being very successful with being clear with that. Good boy. Now, that being said, he is a very friendly dog, and he's very loving, you know? So it is very tempting to do that constantly with him, even for me. I would just want to go on the couch and lay with him, like spooning, watching Netflix right now. That's what I'd want to do. And I think he would like that. But first, I have to go through all this stuff so that the relationship dynamic's one that when I do that, I'm not having fallout, right? Because you can have your cake and eat it too, but you have to be going all the way when necessary. And you can't have your cake in the beginning. You have to set it aside and say, I'll have it later, because I need to build that relationship first before I start introducing some of these situations that gets the dog to believe that maybe you're weak. They can think that. Is that if I start giving him, is that mine? He's quieted it down a little bit. He's
barely audible.
Yeah, and that's one of the phases. They start to, and that was a deep breath, which was beautiful. That was a nice deep breath. Him letting it go. But to me, this is more important than the commands. Is it? I guess that's debatable, but let's say that the commands are not, they don't feel as good without the state of mind work. The dog they'll do the commands, but they'll feel so fussy, and for me, that's just not, I'd rather just not give you a command then, because I don't want to give you a command and feel all this fussiness. So we go through for the state of mind and the relationship dynamics first, or also, I should say. Put that in with those commands, and I think that's where you get a dog that feels good. Okay, so this is a dog who's practicing self-control. He's trying to say, okay, just sit here and wait for a minute. The humans are talking, they're doing something stupid. Eventually, they'll let me know when it's time to move on. And can I do that without expressing my disapproval? Can I do that without whining and saying I'm bored and all this stuff? Can I just sit here and wait? Because that's what a mature dog would do. They would sit here and they would wait. And then when it's time to go, and you're like, man, I fucking love this dog. The dog was whining all the time. It's like, I do love you, but you're annoying me so much. You're lucky I love you, that kind of thing, you know? So, working on the noises that come out of the face. We don't want those. We don't need barks and we don't need whines. Break.
Woo,
Boy. And then just hold still. Just count.
No.
Okay. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did he get you with his nails?
No.
I'm waiting. I'm not doing anything. I'm seeing if this produces a whine, and then I'm going to say break again. Because you see what it does to him. He believes that break means there's no more rules. It's like to him, like if I'm in command, there's rules, but if I'm out of command, there's no rules. But that's just being young. What he's going to realize is there's commands and there's rules, but outside of commands, there's just rules. It has nothing to do with commands. And one of them is going and jumping up on somebody, especially when they didn't offer, right? Nobody said jump on me. Nobody said that. But assuming that you can just go up to a human who are just some of the most impressive animals on the planet and just start jumping on them like they're a walking mat is not going to go over well in current company. Certain company will allow you to do that, and that's why he might be like, what the fuck? That's what I do to people. I jumped on them. Now he's like, oh, it's not going well with current company. He'll adjust himself. Let's see what he does. No whining here. That's great. And because I'm talking about heavy, from what I've seen, I don't know how he is at home, but from what I've seen is like, especially in transition, if we're in between doing something, it's heavy, just a fountain of whine, just whine. The breathing is whining. You know what I mean? And so him keeping himself quiet means he's starting to understand that is the thing I don't like. All right, let's see what he does. Break.
Woo, good boy.
Okay, so he's just changing his behavior. He's alternating. You know, he's staying more towards me. Break. Okay, this is fine. But what he's also learning is that this isn't getting him any correction. He's not getting any corrections. I'm gonna come over here to see what he does. Break. Now that he can't follow me. Let's see if he knows. Go away. Go on. Nice. Most dogs do not come in learning that. Now this is brilliant because I'm saying you're free, but don't come up to me right now and don't come up to Julie. And this is going to produce whines more than likely. But if he just keeps quiet and keeps himself calm over there, that's where all the work, it's so impressive, it's so hard for dogs to do this. First of all, it's hard to send a dog away socially, saying, hey, get away from me right now. The dog, like try it. Try telling your dog to get away from you. Or try to sit down on the couch with somebody and your dog tries to come over and be part of it and you say go, and watch how they're not going and see how that's part of the problem. We need to be able to send a dog away. Because socially they'll disconnect and say, okay, this situation's not for me. Dogs do not want that. They want to be part of the situation, part of the situation, part of it, part of it. Not only part of it, but putting their input in and affecting it and manipulating the outcome. And so once they realize we don't want you doing that in our pack, we just want you to follow. Followers aren't manipulating situations. They'll fight to hang on to the freedom to choose, to be the leader, but then they'll submit and then they'll say, okay, I'll be a follower and realize it's actually better for them. They feel better and then they commit to it. Good. Good. And I just think he looks so handsome right now being a mature boy. Look, he gets his pet and stays there. I mean, Mylan's doing something right with teaching him because that send away is hard to teach a dog. And he's doing it really smoothly. And he understands what it means. Good. Good. I'm going to let him back into the social circle. Break.
Woo, good boy.
But if he starts acting up over here, whining or jumping, he's corrected and sent out of the social situation. Even though he's not leaving the room, I'm just kind of saying, go to the other side, like, leave me alone. You know? Good. Nice. Okay. You're doing good, boy. You're doing good, boy. Oh, jeez. I'm going to open up this door over here to give him another option. He looks like he's looking for options. He's not dumb. Oh, that's the second time he looked like he was going to go out the door, then changed his mind last minute. Good. See, he attaches himself to somebody, either a person or a dog, I think a lot. Becoming a slightly more independent with making choices, but also the good ones is part of his journey. Good, and that was his own choice, right? I came over here to get away from him so he couldn't follow me. Good boy. I just reward that. Yes. Maybe I'm going to give him some affection here, and then after the affection, I'm going to see if that creates whining. Because that's the thing. Let me say something here. It is something to reward a bad behavior is obvious. Dogs doing something you don't like and you're petting them, they're going to keep doing it. But the theory of not petting a dog at all because it creates a dog who's whiny or something like that, the problem with that is that you never actually get to work on the problem. You're just avoiding the trigger. You're avoiding what triggers it. Petting triggers a dog to be whining. Okay. I want to change that. I want to pet the dog a lot and then leave them alone. They whine and correct them. Pet them a lot, leave them alone, they whine and correct them. So they learn that after they get them being pet, if they do that, if there's a correction, they'll learn an alternative behavior, which is just sitting there and being quiet. And now the association will change. So now I can pet my dog all I want, as long as I correct whining afterwards, we're good. And my dog will stop whining afterwards, okay? So look, pet. The whining is just demand. There's demand barks, there's demand whines. He's like, come on, please pet me, pet me. And I'm saying to him, I don't like that. I don't like that noise because that's not your position in our pack. You're a follower, so you shouldn't be telling me what to do or asking me what to do. Right? That's why we don't let them ask us to use the bathroom. They're on a schedule here. Because we don't want them getting in the habit of thinking they can come up to us, make a noise, and get us to get up and go do something. It's just, good. And now let's let them sit. A lot of sitting. And see if a squeak comes out of it. This is very mild. This room doesn't got a lot going on. Eventually, it's going to be harder for him. There's going to be dogs that are free. They're going to be playing. They're going to be having a good time. And he's going to be asked to sit out. Does that create whining? Once he gets to the point where this is easy and he knows the skills and he can just kind of disconnect and chill, I don't have to do this anymore. He's picking up on it pretty quick too. His brother knows how to do this already. They do look very similar, don't they? Except He does, doesn't he? Alistair's got that white
Whisker.
whisker. Good. Okay? Not terrible. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. He was terrible though upon the beginning. I felt very personally, if he was my dog and I didn't know what I was doing, I would feel a little overwhelmed because just the noise and then the click, clack, 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 and the pacing and all this. For me personally, I'm very sensitive to that stuff, especially early in the morning or late at night. He was a lot to handle. Sweet dog though, very sweet. I just felt like a lot of energy, didn't know what to do with it, looking for something to do, going through all those options, coming up over here, checking her out, checking this out. And in my mind, I was just feeling like a dog would. I need to correct that. And that's why he'll get corrected by other dogs. And Alistair won't do it because he's being a good boy. Alistair's respecting he's being a follower and he's letting, I'm sure he's wanted to correct him many times in the beginning. But because he didn't, because he was being respectful to his owner, that was read as weakness. And this dog came over and tried to hump Alistair because he thought Alistair was being weak. But the truth is, if Alistair was alone with him with no influence over people, he wouldn't have been submissive and he would have been the one doing the dominating because he could. There's no way this guy was going to get Alistair, he was a puppy. But his mind read Alistair's, he was trying to stay away from the hierarchical conversations, and he read it as weakness, although Alistair was just doing it because his owner has asked him not to, right? He's trying to be respectful. So he comes over and tries to hump Alistair, right? So now there's confusion in the pecking order. So, but the truth is his energy would get corrected, especially if it came into my personal space. So he dialed up to 7, 8, 9, 10, and then walked into my personal space as a dog who's his pack member, but a little bit higher up in status. If I'm not in the mood for that, boom, it's a correction, physical correction. He's not just going to say, "Excuse me, sir, would you please get away from me?" He's going to bite him, give him a little shake if he had to, and send him off, right? So, or maybe even submit him if he struck back, which I don't know if this guy would. He's pretty soft. He's a sweet little guy. But if we can get ourselves to act like a more, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Like a leader who mimics what dogs would do, because that's what I do. I'm not a dog, but I know how they think, so I'm able to kind of use the same boundaries that they set for themselves. I'm able to do it for myself. So if he comes into the house and he's like, a dog would probably correct him for doing that, so I'm doing it, right? He's unstable, his energy goes a little unpredictable, it's not the appropriate time, he's gonna get corrected. If he doesn't settle down, he's gonna get pack attacked, right? That's why nice dogs get beat up at dog parks, because they're pestering, and they annoy the other dog, and the other dog overcorrects because that dog's not balanced, so it overcorrects, and then you just got yourself some mess. So yes, it's important to correct energy. If he raises his energy up, we're correcting it because he wasn't offered to. Default should be calm, okay? Hang on, I got his name, don't tell me. Aries. Aries, good doggy. Break.
Woo! Good boy!
Yes! Nice work. I'm gonna let him out and then let him back in, and that can cause him, you can have a potty break, you have a little break. When he comes back in, it's new again. And he's gonna say, "What are we doing?" And that's where he's more likely to whine and get fussy, okay? So he's already been through this at home, you can tell, good boy. He understands not to walk through. He's pretty chill too, good. Boy, Aries. Break. Nice. Actually, mine look great, look fantastic. I'll leave him out there, let him go potty. He's getting it. It's gonna take a few weeks for him to be there consistently, and that to kind of be his new state.